Let's talk about your feelings. Does that sentiment make you squirm a little bit? In my course, Art of Conversation, 6 weeks from awkward to articulate, we save this topic for the very end because it can be very difficult to have the confidence and the skills to articulate your needs very clearly and consistently to the people around you. But it doesn't have to be so difficult if you can keep a couple of things in mind. The first thing I want you to keep in mind is that it's important for you to be able to identify what are your feelings. Sometimes we're so busy feeling all the feelings that we really don't stop to think about which feelings we're having. Are we mad? Are we frustrated? Are we angry? Are we disappointed? Are we embarrassed? Do we seem angry, but it's really just because we're embarrassed? So, being able to stop for a minute in the middle of all those feelings to identify what is it that I'm feeling right now? Because if you can identify it, you can much more easily communicate it to the people around you. So, I want you to keep that in mind as a top tool. If you can't explain to yourself how you're feeling, how in the world are you supposed to explain to someone else how you're feeling? Another thing that I talk about in my course over and over again is refraining from the word you during heated moments. So instead of saying, you made me mad, keep in mind that it's going to be much better received to say, I'm feeling really mad right now. So the formula that I will often suggest is to explain what you're feeling and why. I'm feeling really frustrated right now because I thought that I'd been clear ahead of time that this is what I was planning to do. That is not what ended up happening. I did not say, you made me mad because I told you what I wanted and then you did blah, blah, blah. So keeping in mind that those you statements are only going to be inflammatory, they're only going to provoke a fight, they're only going to make things worse. So it really is about how you phrase it and how you approach that other person. One very important thing that I'd like for you to keep in mind is that if you or the person that you're speaking with have a history of trauma, this is going to add an extra layer of complication to the topic. When people, but especially children, undergo high levels of trauma, either through a very difficult experience that they've had or through a long-standing dysfunctional way of being raised, being able to accurately identify your feelings can be really difficult. It can either be difficult for you if you are the person who underwent trauma, or it can be difficult for the person you're trying to have a conversation with. Here is one bonus tip that I would love to give to you because I have found it to be extremely helpful in my own life. Sometimes one of the best things that you can do is go back to the basics and look up some definitions to some of those feeling words. What is the definition of angry or frustrated or sad or disappointed or embarrassed? Sometimes being able to go back and actually make a little bit of a study out of what are these emotional words and what do they really mean will be very, very helpful in effectively communicating your feelings to the people around you or in helping other people who may have undergone trauma in their past to be able to more accurately identify their feelings. Maybe you're noticing some sort of tension and you're not sure what it is, and maybe that person truly can't explain to you exactly what they're feeling because they don't know. Sometimes it can be helpful to say, well, if you were angry, it might be like this. But if you were feeling frustrated, it might feel like this. Anger might feel like you just want to punch the wall because you've got so many emotions that you just feel like doing something, maybe even a little bit destructive. Frustration might feel like you're trying really hard to accomplish something and it's just not working. And it feels like you're trying to walk through mud and everything that you're trying to do just isn't working either the way you want it to or as quickly as you want it to. Do you think you might be frustrated or do you think you might be mad? This tip is also an amazing bonus parenting tip. I use this with my children, and I have used this with my children for as long as I can remember, for as long as they could understand the conversation, because I know that being able to accurately identify your feelings goes a long way towards articulate and accurate and effective communication. So when I see my children having big feelings, I try to accurately identify. I can tell that you're really frustrated by this. Let's see if we can stop and figure out how to make this work better for you. Or I can tell that you are really, really mad, buddy, and that's okay. It is upsetting when something like this happens. You have every right to be mad, but let's see what we can do about it. So hopefully that takes you through a few different scenarios, whether you need to communicate your own feelings, whether you need to help someone else explain to you what they're feeling, or maybe whether you're dealing with a small child who is just now learning about all these feelings and all these words, and you're trying to help them develop a stronger sense of who they are so that they can be an effective communicator. I hope that you have found this video to be incredibly helpful to you. If you have, be sure to save it for future reference, or tag or share with a friend who you think might appreciate it. And don't forget to follow me, because I come up with new videos every single week to help you with these tricky conversation topics. This is your conversation expert, Julie, and don't forget that I'm here to help you. So please let me know which topics you struggle with so that I can make some content for you. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next week.